everybody, and welcome back to Growing in the Cove. My name is Stacy and I grow in Zone 5B, Newfoundland. Today I am going to be pre-sprouting some Ranunculus, which is a flower that I've now been growing for maybe 4 years. So I thought I would take you along and show you how I'm doing it. I actually did do a video on how I do this last year, so I will link that below. This may be a little bit repetitive. I'm going to try not to go too much into it, so if you want to check out that video for a more detailed instructions, I will have that linked in the description below. But in the meantime, I'm just going to bring you along with me while I get some more flowers started for spring. So let's talk Ranunculus. So Ranunculus is a flower that really does most of its growing in the cool season, and then it tends to bloom in spring to early summer depending on your climate. So the way that I like to start Ranunculus is I will pre-sprout them indoors, and once they become stocky little plants, I will then put them out in my greenhouse where they will stay and continue growing until they start blooming, usually in May. So Ranunculus, you normally grow from corms. So these are my actual saved corms from last year. So I haven't purchased any new ones. You won't be able to really see these. They just kind of look like a clump of dirt at this point. Because I didn't wash them off before I dried them. But I will show you what they look like once they have been soaked for a couple of hours, and they will really plump up and look a lot different than they do now, little clumps of dirt. So these are a flower that is kind of considered like a cool flower. It's definitely not a beginner flower, and the first year that I grew them, I don't know if I got any to bloom. And if I did, I only got a few blooms, and that's because I was a little bit too late planting them. So if you're planning on trying Ranunculus and you want to plant them outside in your garden and you don't have a covered structure like a greenhouse, hoop house, or mini tunnels to put them in under, then I would definitely recommend making sure you plant them out really early. So for us here in Newfoundland, you're looking at, for me, my last frost date can be up to June 10th. So I would try and get these out at least 4 weeks before the last frost. So for me, that would be probably around the beginning of May here in Newfoundland, because you really want them to do a lot of their growing in the ground before the temperature starts to heat up. Once they get past 20 degrees Celsius outside, when the weather is consistently that warm, they will shut down, they will stop blooming, and they will start to put all of their energy back into making this corm. So I think the big trick with Ranunculus is they're not a difficult flower to grow, but they're difficult to get the timing right. So I'm starting mine today because I'm planting them extra early in my greenhouse. So if you are in a cool climate like me, you may want to hang off doing this pre-sprouting process until maybe the end of March, with hopes of planting them outdoors end of April or early May. So let's get started.
Okay, so I have all of my dried corms placed in a little organza bag so water can pass through, but I can keep my varieties separated. So I've got a plant tag in here saying what each variety is. This year this was a mix of amandine, salmon, and marshmallow. Absolutely beautiful pastel colors. So I'll pop those in the bucket. And I've also got amandine yellow and a pastel mix that I've been growing for a few years. So I will submerge these into a bucket of water, and I also add a fish pump. This isn't totally necessary. You can also change the water a few times while they're soaking. And I know some people don't even do that, but this is just what I do, so I'm showing you. So I actually put a little fish bubbler in there, and I will let these soak for 3 to 4 hours. And just to make sure that all of them are actually submerged, I put a little saucer in there to keep it all submerged in the water. So I will come back in 3 to 4 hours when these are done soaking. Okay, so I have soaked these for 3.5 hours. It's now much later in the day, but I just put my daughter to bed and this is the time that I have. So let's see if I can show you what these look like. Hold on, I'm gonna rinse these off. So my corms have soaked for around 3.5 hours. I've kind of had them just sitting here because I haven't had time to actually plant them until I just put my daughter to bed. So it's a few hours later, but I just wanted to show you with these corms that when you wash the soil off of them, of a saved corm I should say, is that you can actually see that multiple corms, at least 2 corms have formed from the one. So this is the cool thing about saving corms, is that you always end up multiplying and getting more. And if you so pleased, you could tease them apart. And it's just crazy to me that such ugly little corms could produce such beautiful flowers. So I actually have 2, actually no, I have 3 out of the one clump. So you can separate all of these, or you can kind of plant the clumps. It's up to you what you want to do. But if you bought these from a store, they would look a lot more clean, and they kind of have these little tentacles. So I'm now going to plant all of these into some trays with soil, and I will be right back when I have those ready. Okay, so I've got 2 trays here of potting mix, just normal potting mix. This is the Pro Mix all-purpose mix, and I have it literally because I found bags of it on sale at Walmart. Any normal potting soil will be fine. I just try not to get anything that actually has fertilizer already in it, because that can burn seedlings or baby plants. So the Ranunculus corms are really funny looking. I'm actually going to put my tag in before I mix up my varieties. Not that it really matters because they're already mixed up. But this is what the corm looks like. And it almost looks like a baby octopus. So what you're going to do when you plant is stick them with tentacles. If this is an octopus, tentacles down into the soil. And that's where it will root from. So I put these in really close together. If I can't get corms apart, I really don't worry about it, and I kind of tend to just plant them as a clump. But I do put them really close together because these are only going to be in this tray long enough for them to pre-sprout, and then they'll be spaced further apart when I plant them in their final resting place where they will carry on with the rest of their growing. So you can see, once again, tentacles, put them tentacle down. Now I should have enough room for all of these varieties in this tray. You can see that there's bits of stem left over from last year, and that's kind of because I very haphazardly saved them. So I'm actually going to cut these off, but the growth will come from the same stems again. Or not the same stems, but the actual same location. This looks to be a couple bundled up together. But yeah, these are some of the ugliest little corms of all of the corms, I think, and tubers and everything else that flowers come from. I think these might win for the ugliest. Although dahlia tubers are not very pretty either, are they? Okay, I've got a couple left. And again, if you were to buy these brand new from a garden center or order them online, they would come a lot prettier than this. I am just reusing old ones, which are looking pretty worse for wear, but they will grow just fine. Okay, so I'm going to repeat and do this with my other variety, and I will come back. Okay, so now that I've got all of my corms in their trays, I'm just gonna cover them with some soil. Ranunculus do like darkness for germination, so covering them in soil is one way of doing that, but I always tend to put a overturned tray on the top just to ensure that there's no light getting in. So I'm not super careful about this. If I have an exposed corm somewhere, it's not a big deal. So I'm actually doing a trial this year, and I'm going to, instead of giving them, I will tell you what I'm going to be doing with these. I'll give them a period of cold and darkness for 2 weeks until they sprout. But I'm actually going to do a trial this year because I was watching another YouTuber on here. I think her YouTube channel name is Micro Flower Farm. I've actually, Galina, I think is her name. I followed her on Instagram for years, but I watched her ranunculus video the other day, and she said that it's a myth that you need to put ranunculus in a really cold location, and she said if you just stick them under grow lights that they'll actually sprout sooner. So I can't attest to that, but I'm going to give it a try, and I have a small container of leftovers that I'm actually going to try it with.
So now that my corms are planted, I'm just going to cover each tray with an overturned tray to keep out any light. So that concludes my video of how I pre-sprout ranunculus. I'm now gonna bring these into the coldest part of my basement for a period of about 2 weeks. I'm gonna put them directly on the concrete floor because that is the coldest possible place. I usually set a timer on my phone or a reminder at the 1 week mark to go and check on my trays, and at that time I will usually spray them with some water and make sure that the soil remains moist. At the 2 week mark I will check them again, and usually almost all of the corms have sprouted by that point. I'm sure I have some footage from last year of what my pre-sprouted corms look like. At that point, I put them under grow lights and I will grow them on until they're ready to go out into the garden. So you may be thinking, if you've never grown these before, it seems like a lot of work, and it is. So this is not really a beginner flower. However, this is the bulk of the work, and once they actually get planted, they kind of take care of themselves. Not to mention they're a beautiful cut flower that are kind of hard to find these days, and they have a fantastic vase life of about 10 days. So if you want to try something different this year, I highly recommend ranunculus. And if nothing else, just to have some beautiful ranunculus in a vase on your table, it's just amazing the feeling when you know I grew that. So if you have any questions for me, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. If you would like to help out my channel, you can hit the like button, subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I make more videos, and leave me a comment down below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, bye.